When and how I learned drums. I started playing drums when I was 8 years old, and I started taking lessons right away, and with a local teacher. And I've never stopped taking lessons. I've been taking private lessons and studying my whole life. And so since I'm 21 years old now, that was 13 years ago. No, I'm joking. It's been a long time. But yes, I've been studying my whole life. And actually, one of my mentors and teachers is here right now playing in the other room, which is Mr. Peter Erskine, who I studied with. And still do, actually. I still take lessons with Peter. So I believe that you should have continuous study and continuous coaching. You know, the best pro athletes in the world have coaches. You know, Tiger Woods has a golf coach, you know. He's one of the greatest golfers ever, but he has a coach. So a lot of times with musicians, I think we forget about that. And a lot of musicians stop studying after a certain period of time. You know, maybe once they become a teacher, then they maybe stop studying. But I think everybody should continue to study and have a coach. Yeah, I mean, they have their own style, they have their own approach, but I mean, they surely don't have all the information. So, you know, there's always someone who has more information than you. So you take that information, you take information from this person and inspiring things from someone else, and you put it all together, and you have your own opinion and delivery, you know. You have to look at it like being a great actor, for instance, you know. A great actor is given a script, a screenplay. You know, the director gives the script to Robert De Niro and he gives the script to Al Pacino. And he's still telling them what to say. He's still coaching them along, but they each deliver it uniquely Robert De Niro or uniquely Al Pacino. And then the director says, oh, I like the way Robert De Niro does it. I'll hire him for the movie. You know, but it's sort of the same way. We have a delivery of a script. The music is the script. And, you know, we can be coached and helped along with that, but we can have our own delivery of it as well. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it all comes to playing music first. I mean, I think music is the driving force, you know. So I always try to play what's best for the music, and even in my situations when they're my records or my compositions, I try to step away a little bit, and not that I wrote them or it's my band, and I still try to play what's best for the music. Now, certainly, you know, with my band, with Arrival, which we're playing the concert here in a couple days in Hong Kong. But with Arrival, I'm aware of the fact that, you know, it's my band, and, you know, maybe a lot of musicians or drummers might be interested in the music. So, you know, I try to stretch what the drums do in the music a little bit, you know, and have it feature a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, I always let the music kind of tell me what to play, you know. And my job, you know, it's an interesting job because really my job is to serve the artist first, to make them sound great, to make their music sound great, the best it can be, you know, and in that, I will sound better and, you know, come across at a higher level if I just take that focus and not try to push my idea into their music too much. Yeah, it's certainly not easier to break into the business. I mean, you know, the challenge nowadays is that when I grew up, you know, I was in high school going into college when machines were invented to be a part of music, like the drum machine and computer and the sequencers and all those things. When I first grew up, there was no machines. So, you know, in that era, every note of music that you heard was played by a person. every radio jingle, every movie, every album, every cartoon, it all had live musicians on it. And now, a large percentage of music is made with machines, with computers and things like that. So in that way, there's less of that going on, but it's just new opportunities and new ways to interact as a player with machines and things like that. But the principle is still the same, that great musicians like to play with great musicians. So they're drawn together. So the better you are, the luckier you get, It's kind of, though, it's funny how that happens. The luckiest guys in the world sometimes are often the best guys in the world, So that goes hand in hand. Right. Yeah, most of the products that I've been involved with, I have a signature cowbell, I have sticks and brushes and the groove wedge stuff here on the snare and a sub kick. We don't have one here right now, but all that stuff is me just working, working in the studio, working with artists and going, I'd really like to have this. And, I've been blessed to have relationships with all these companies, Zildjian, Remo, Victor, Mapex, some of them for 25 years. So I can go back to the company and say, hey, I think we really should, take a look at making something like this. And, I actually studied mechanical engineering and finished carpentry. So they're hobbies of mine. Like I have a wood shop on my property and I make furniture and I, redid our kitchen and things, it's a hobby of mine. So I would make prototypes or I would do things and take it to the company and say, I really think we need to make this. And then, a lot of them have been made and some of them have been very successful. So that's been great. Yeah, the sub kick is basically, it's an old actual idea. Paul McCartney actually used a speaker as a microphone on the White Album with the Beatles many years ago. This little microphone here, it's got a little speaker inside of it. And when I talk into it, it makes the speaker move and then it's amplified and captured, through a PA or for recording. So every microphone has a little speaker. So basically, I was working with a lot of very successful rap and hip hop artists, and they would bring me in they would program something on a machine, and they would bring me in and say, can you play what's on the machine, but make it feel better, make it more interesting drumming-wise. But the problem was the machine sounds were so low, bottom end, and big sounds. So I really was looking for a way to get that out of the acoustic drum. So basically what I did is I took a 7.5-inch speaker and wired it backwards to turn it into a huge microphone. And then I put it inside of a drum shell so that instead of just going boo, it goes doo. It has like a little length to it, like a drum. And then you can actually tune the pitch of it up or down, for the key of the song that you're working in. And you just plug it in like a microphone and it captures the very, very low end of the bass drum and floor toms and things like that. A lot of guys use it in front of the bass amp too, for the bass guitar. So that's kind of how the sub kick started and came about. So. Well, the gospel drumming phrase. I think it's there's some amazing drumming happening, and a lot of those players have a great feel and a great pocket. My concern with it, to be honest, is that it's really based around drums, like a lot of drumming, a lot of drum fills, a lot of solo ideas, things like that. And there's a big difference between a great musician who plays drums and a great drummer. the great musicians who play drums work in the music business and play on records and do tours and play on movies and all that. As long as the attitude with that is that the music, that's what's right for the music. And a lot of times it is right for some of that music. A lot of times I feel like sometimes it's kind of getting pushed in there a little bit, because of the attitude of like, oh, this is the way we do this with that style, so I'm going to put it into, maybe places where it don't belong. And I mean, that's really the big discussion is it being done the right thing at the right time? If it is, then it's awesome. If it's not, then it's immature. So, I think I'm very good friends with a lot of great gospel drummers that do it correctly, like Aaron Spears and Gerald Hayward and Teddy Campbell, and they're all friends of mine, and those guys are great drummers. Marvin McQuitty was a great friend of mine. Was one of the founding gospel drummers, and I really enjoy it. I just, sometimes I feel like the younger generation of that is so worried about being a part of it, they kind of put it in places maybe where it don't belong. So that's really the key. Well, for people that are just getting into the business now, I mean, it's, everybody has a different sort of path or a different business plan, let's call it. Not every business in the world can have the same business plan. Even companies that are similar, like Panasonic and Sony, they have different business plans. Sony does PlayStation and has different things, and Panasonic doesn't do game like that. It does, more television and more, so it's different. I mean, everybody has a little different path and a little different business plan. And it really boils down to the fact that you have to be great at what you're doing. You have to be as skilled and as educated playing an instrument as I would be if I was a lawyer or if I was a doctor. Doctors are constantly studying, constantly learning about new medicine and new techniques, and going to medical seminars and learning. And I know when I go to the doctor, I want that doctor to know as much as he can possibly know about what he's going to do, especially if you had a surgery or something. You're like, man, do you know exactly what's going to happen right now? And a lot of times musicians, I think, because it's art, they don't take it quite as seriously as that, and obviously nobody's going to die, or be sick or have a problem in surgery from the drums. But I mean, I don't take it any less seriously than as if I was a doctor or a lawyer. I need to have that level of education, that level of, commitment and an attitude of, this is my job, this is what I do. I want to be the best in the world at it, and it supports my family and my wife and daughter, and so to me it's extremely serious. So I just, I want to encourage everybody to study, to play as much as you possibly can, music, not just drums, and that, you always have to balance as well. You got to balance artistry and commerce, business and art. You can't be all art and no business, because then nobody will know about you, and at some point you have to make a living doing it. You can't be all business and no art, because then you're not going to be very good at what you do, and you're just going to be selling it all the time. So there's always a balance, and the great well-known musicians, those are the guys who find that balance of being educated, trying hard, having a big commitment to what they're doing, being very humble and to the music and to other players, and always studying, always getting better, and balancing that with understanding that it is a business and that you have to do things that every business does, like market yourself and reinvest money into the business and understand your brand and what that means and what you're trying to sell. What are you doing? Are you a rock drummer? Are you a jazz drummer? Are you a studio musician? All of those things that you would do if to step back and look at it as if it was a business, and just balance those as good as possible. And the best will succeed. They will be successful. That's always the way it works. And great musicians want to be with great musicians. So, that's the plan. Hi, this is Russ Miller, and you are watching musicinmusic.com.